Hello guys, Greg back with another video on the channel. It is all killer, no filler. Slightly different video today. I'm doing 10 women's fragrances that I think work really well on men. I'm not really what you'd call a metrosexual type of guy, but I'd happily wear any of these and I'm happy to recommend them as good choices for you guys. So let's just jump straight into the list. First up, one from the house of Bulgari, from the excellent perfumer Annick Monado. And this one is called Bulgari Black. Now the magic in this fragrance is a burnt rubber accord. It's kind of a love-hate fragrance really. It's marketed for women, I'm not really sure why. It's not a feminine fragrance. If anything, I'd say it leans probably a little bit more masculine to my nose. But this came out in 1998 and it's an unusual release from a designer house because it's very far from being, you know, your typical mass market, mass appealing fragrance. It's quite challenging. The dry down in here is more of a conventional, it's a conventional sort of vanilla dry down, but the early stages of this are quite challenging, so it's an interesting release for a designer house. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. If you haven't tried it, get your nose on it. Bulgari Black. Next up, we've got one from the house of Armath, and this is Club de Nuit Intense, the women's version, the EDP. Now essentially this is a rose patchouli fragrance with a chocolatey accord in here. Easily can be worn by a guy, but you have to be a rose lover really to enjoy this one. Now this is very similar in all aspects to Tom Ford's Noir de Noir. It's actually far closer to Tom Ford's Noir de Noir than the male version of Club de Nuit Intense is to Aventus, which is, you know, known as being a clone for. But an amazing value fragrance, around £35 I think for a 100ml bottle. And when you consider how close it is to the far more expensive Tom Ford fragrance, that's a really, really good value fragrance. Next up, another rose fragrance, possibly the best rose fragrance ever actually. From the house of Frederic Malle, this is Portrait of a Lady. Lots going on in here, but essentially it's based around three main notes. Rose, patchouli and incense. Not really sure what is in here that creates the magic, but there's something magical about this fragrance. I do prefer it on a lady, but it's also a great fragrance for a guy. Portrait of a Lady. So next we've got two classics from Guerlain. We've got Mitsuki, never sure, and Shalimar. Both of these are, although these are brand new unused bottles, they're both old versions. So the Mitsuki is a 2000 year 2000 bottle, and the Shalimar is a 2004. They're both the EDP versions. There's various different versions, but I just happen to have the EDPs. I'm not going to be able to do these two justice or even attempt to in a couple of minutes, but Shalimar really, I'd describe it as being like a luxurious leather incense vanilla fragrance. It's got lots of citrus, it's got violet in here, it's got sweet myrrh. And Mitsuko, this is probably one of the, well, it's definitely one of the greatest oak moss chypres that's ever been created. Absolutely love it. And both of them, they are feminine fragrances, but they're so classic smelling that they definitely can be worn by a guy in my opinion. Right, now one from one of my favourite houses. This is Almond Woman. If you've tried Almond Man before, if you like that, this is probably around about 80% the same fragrance in my opinion. It doesn't have the pink pepper that you get, that's one of the keynotes in Almond Man, but the cedar and the cardamom and the woody hemlock note in here are all the same. This one has some violet, which does give it a little touch of femininity, but still definitely okay for a guy to wear in my opinion. I'll leave a link below for my full review on Almond Man, which will tell you a lot more and will give you some idea about what that one smells like as well. Next up, we've got one from the house of Joe Malone. This one is Dark Amber and Ginger Lily. Now, this is a really long-lasting, deep, rich fragrance, which is unusual for Joe Malone. They're best known for the sort of light, fresh cologne-type scents. Totally unisex, this one. Lots of ginger and cardamom in here. The core of the fragrance is very floral, but not in a feminine way, not to my nose anyway. And the base is a big dose of sandalwood. But all round a very, very good fragrance. One that I'd highly recommend you try and get your nose on if you haven't already. So we've got three to go. Next one, a very classic women's perfume. This is unfortunately just a refill bottle, so it's not very interesting to look at. But this is Thierry Mugler's Angel, and this is the EDT version. Now, the EDP version of this is a little bit more feminine, but the EDT is very wearable for a guy, in my opinion. Lots of similarities in this fragrance to the men's Amen. It doesn't have the harshness that Amen's got. The tar note isn't in there. But really, it's a rich patchouli, chocolate and vanilla fragrance. It's a true gourmand. I wear this all the time. I don't feel like it comes across feminine. All the notes in here are pretty much standard unisex type of notes. So definitely feel confident in wearing that one. So my penultimate pick is from the house of Clive Christian. Beautiful bottle. This is 1872 for women. This is the one where it all really started for Clive Christian. 1872 is the year that this was first produced. Now, I really enjoy the male version of this, but I just find the women's one a little bit more interesting. There's a little bit more complexity to this one. Lots of citrus, lots of florals. There's oak moss in here, there's musk. It's got a very classic feel to it. Now, this wears quite close to the skin, but it's a deceptive one. If you come within sort of about 4 inches, it's very strong, and it does last a long time. It just doesn't project or reach out very far. But it's a really fresh, uplifting perfume. Can be worn pretty much all year round, I'd say. Probably pushing the boundaries of what's feminine, this one, but I still think a guy can wear it. It's, you know, and I wear it and have no problem with it at all. And finally, this one's no stranger to the fragrance community. It's a fragrance that I really respect and appreciate, but I don't actually personally enjoy it very much. But I can objectively say that it's a very classy, intriguing unisex fragrance, and this is Tom Ford's Black Orchid. Sure, most of you know about this one, but it's a chocolate, patchouli and orchid fragrance, all kind of centred around this unique, earthy, musky truffle smell. It's a bigger, bolder use of the same note, actually, that's used in Tom Ford for Men Extreme, which I've actually previously reviewed. I'll leave a link below because it might be of interest. But Black Orchid doesn't really work on my skin, but as I said, I appreciate it. And if I smelt this on a guy, I'd be impressed and probably go up and talk to him and start talking about fragrances. So there you go, guys. That's another video. That's 10 women's fragrances that I think work really well for men. Now, remember, you can pick up over 500 fragrance samples from my online store, fragrancesamplesuk.com. We've recently introduced fast, insured, tracked shipping to 15 countries in Europe, so you can order directly through the website. If your country doesn't appear, or if you're outside of Europe, you can email us at info@fragrancesamplesuk.com and we can sort orders out for you. Both of those addresses are in the description below, as are the 2 reviews that I mentioned before. So thanks again for watching, guys. I'll be back soon with another video. Cheers.